Our next speaker has been a mentor in residence for 4 years at NSRCEL IIMB. He is an angel investor and a member of the Indian Angel Network. He has invested in 16 startups and seen 3 exits. His focus is tech oriented social ventures that cater to the bottom of the pyramid of Indian society. He has also been a partner at a US based impact investment firm, Acumen. His mantra is startups should focus on India's strengths, and these are people, problems, and tech.
And for those who are not aware of NSRCEL, it stands for Narathur S. Raghavan Center for Entrepreneurial Learning and is located in Bangalore. And it facilitates business growth through academic research by scholars and practical learning for entrepreneurs. So please join me in welcoming our next speaker, Mr. Nagaraja Prakasam. Please give a big round of applause.
So, since we are a very smaller audience, can I just do a quick raising hands? How many from social enterprise, for profit? For profit, okay. Non-profit? Okay, all right, good. Yes, I think rest are all academy, right? Yeah. And what is any expectation? Like, what do you want to hear about? Anybody? What do you want to expecting out of this session? So that we can cover, because we're running short on Q&A, so that I can cover what you have in mind during the discussion itself. Anyone? Yes. Yeah, yeah. Right. Okay. In a non-profit way. Oh, fantastic. Good. Okay. Yeah. Scale. Yeah, yeah. That's an interesting word. Okay. Good. What else? Yeah, perfect. That's fantastic. That's I'll give some examples. Yes. What else?
Issues with rising financial capital.
Issues. Yeah, that's a problem with what kind of an issue? Like raising or managing? Raising. You are for profit, none. Either, because it's a two different scheme of people, right? Who support for profit and versus non-profit. Okay. Fundraising. Okay. What bottlenecks? Regulate. There's nothing I can do. Anybody, all of you can become angels right now. Just start writing check, which is good. We don't have any regulation for angel investor right now. There'll be something coming up in the US. There are some restriction which is not there yet today in India. Yeah. Okay. Good. Anything else? Yes. So that's aligned with his question. Okay. For the non-profit. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. What else? For profit is very easy. Your bottom line. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's also social enterprise. So
Yes.
that's the only measure.
Now that's a good point. Yes. We'll talk about triple bottom line. Yes. Yeah. What do you look for if you want to raise funding? Got it. Right. Good. It is for profit. Yeah. Sure. Perfect. Good. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Yes. Yes. That's line with his point. Yeah. Impact. That's a big business. Yeah. You can get into that, and there's quite a lot of metrics out there, but we'll touch a little bit on that as well. Great. Excellent. So I'm going to give you probably starting from the for-profit side, and I'll bring some element of non-profit as well, right? And people in the non-profit don't get offended, because I always start this session with saying that there is an NGO for every 500 people in India, right? That's more than a doctor. Yeah. But still, we are very watched in education, right? And last year or few years back, we didn't even participate in the survey because we are the second from the bottom. Yeah. So that is where a little bit skepticism is there, because you are among a lot of people who are not doing a great job, right? So take that with a pinch of salt, because there is this thought process in everybody's mind about this sector, right? There are a lot of people created like a little bit bad image about the sector. That also means that like there are a lot of people doing very, very good work. So you're in a challenge right now to just prove yourself. It's very unfortunate position, but that is something you might want to just focus on, because fundraising today, if you look at many of the aid agencies, right, which would support non-profits. So I sit in the board of one of them called Change Alliance. It's one of the third largest charity in UK, right? So what the government told when we become G20, the government told all the aid agencies to get out of the country, right? So you might have seen 2015 was the deadlines given to many of them. They did leave. So some of them put their residual amount in a fund and so got some extension here and there. But the message is very clear that India is a country we are growing, and we are a $2+ trillion economy, fastest growing economy. We don't want aid, right? So that's the message the government sent to the world. But problem, right? Very many of non-profits were wondering about what do we do. That is where they opened up the channel called CSR. Yeah, depends on who you talk to. There is a bit of money from 14,000 crores to 25,000 crores. There is some money out there. I'm sure there are some good profit companies, like say for example Tata's, right? There's 60% of the Tata's owned by a trust. So they don't, we're not looking at the 2%, 60%, right? Tata Trust owns 60% of Tata Sons. So there are people like that. They have the DNA inbuilt. So there is a that set of corporates out there. Then there will be a lower bottom that they will start the NGO in their wife's name, figure out a way to put the CSR and all that stuff. But still, there is a bit of good chunk of money out there. I think that is where, which is very interesting as well, because it is more tougher to convince a corporate than an aid agency, right? Because they sit in New York or Europe somewhere. Probably there is some staff here, and you can write a nice proposal. It may go through, but now you are deal with Indians, yeah. So these guys know, right, how every penny is counting. So it's going to be a little tougher, but I think it's also more, it makes more efficiency into the system in many of the nonprofits as well, right? So I think figuring it out, model, working with the CSR, there is quite a lot of action going on. There is a initiative by corporate affairs called Saman. They're working with the Bombay Stock Exchange, right? You could look it up, this Saman, and there's a 2,000 crore worth of projects is listed in Bombay Stock Exchange right now. So some of your nonprofit sector, you should look it up and then see how you can profile yourself as well. So that is bringing streamlining the fundraising process for nonprofits, right? So this is this Ministry of Corporate Affairs, or they are the one behind the CSR rule. So they're trying to figure out, okay, we got the law right now, so how do you make sure that the correct money is going to the right people? So you might want to look into that. So what it gives you, that thinking a little different around fundraising for the nonprofits, right? You need to work with corporates, and especially Indian corporates, and some of them are doing good. They are hiring people from the development sector, so which make like your life a little easier. But most of them, they're just to promote HR guy internally. He has no clue about what you're doing. So it makes your job a little tougher, but it also will make you more efficient. So that's on the nonprofit sector. Uh, what's said and done, there is a funding available, but you need to figure out how you are approaching. Then someone asked a good question about a nonprofit into a for-profit, right? So my thinking is, sitting in Change Alliance board, they've supported around 200 NGOs. They've done last 60 years. Most of the work they've done around rights, right? Inclusive growth. I'm there next week in Bangladesh talking about Dalit women in all the activities people are doing. But that's still a little bit of problem. But many problems like manual scavenging, today it's a law, right? So they've been fighting for many years. So that is great. So land rights reforms, hopefully this acquisition bill goes through. But that said, there is Forest Act now recognizing the tribals. They're able to get the land rights as well as the forest rights. Like this, the rights-based organization who are evangelizing many of these, getting closer to achieving their dream, right? So that is now, unless you are in that space. But there is other area, the number one where the nonprofits are there. Any guess? The number one sector where most of the nonprofits are in. Yeah, there you go. Yes, yeah. But still, we are doing very bad in that, right? So that is where there is a potential on this hybrid model, right? So today there is an aspiration, and all of us did a great job in convincing people in poverty that education is one way of coming out of poverty, right? So there is a big aspiration for people to get educated, right? But that also an important learning coming from is that the moment they are economically liberal, there's a little bit of economic freedom has come. What are they doing? They put their children in a private school, right? So that is where I think many of the nonprofits, there is a big debate going on with the government, right? Most of you are working with the government school, try to improve whatever there. But the moment that person has some money in the pocket, he's just put that person in a private school. So that is something that you might want to look into, since because there is an aspiration, there are people are willing to pay a little bit. So can you build a solution which are affordable, right? I think one will be is empowering this government school. The other one is, can you figure out models that you could still achieve the same thing, but can you do a hybrid model, right? Do a what we call sliding tariff. So people who could afford could pay a little bit more. People who cannot afford, give it free. So that's what Arvind Eye Hospital, which is one of the best social enterprise, which is funded by or supported by Acumen that I'm part of. That's a sliding tariff, right? Abdul Kalam one day went into Arvind Eye Hospital and he didn't have a check or whatever the cash to pay. So he went into the free service. He got it cataract done. So that's the level of transparency they have. There's no question asked, right, whether you are poor or not. It is you declaring it. So still very profitable company. They built the lab, one of the world best lab that produces lens worth 60 crores. So it is possible, right? The hybrid model is possible. So looking deeper, that is also will help you on sustainability. Somebody asked a question. Look into whatever you're doing. Is there a way some portion of it could become sustainable, right? You don't need to be very highly profitable, but cover your cost. Because what happens is that, as I was telling, the fundraising becoming tougher, right? From the aid agencies, now you have to deal with corporates. So what happened that some funding stops, that your initiative stops. So your vision is defined by a donor, right? You have to keep redoing your vision part based on what the donor wants. But if you're able to bring in some element of sustainability, right, you are able to achieve your vision a little bit better. So I have an investment a company called Sattva Consulting, which does exactly this. So a quick one example is SAHAY. SAHAY is a waste management NGO in Bangalore. Many of you might have known. She started 12 years back into this as an NGO. So I met her 4 years back. I've told her why waste is supposed to be an NGO, because waste is my problem as well and someone else's problem as well. Why my waste should be managed by a donor dollars, right? Donor rupees, because the donor rupees well spent probably somewhere else in a cancer research or something else, not on managing the waste, right? So Sattva connected. So Sattva worked with them last 3 years, created a for-profit version, right? Where today, like IIM Bangalore is managed by SAHAY. So what she does, she goes to places like this, bulk generators, right? They produce around 1,400 tons of the 5,000 tons produced every day in Bangalore. So she comes to IIM and says that I will make IIM a zero waste campus. So what does that mean? Then amount of waste you're keeping in your doorstep, then that goes to BMP, all that problem comes around. So that is getting reduced. Today, IIM produces around 900 kgs of waste every day. 85% is recycled, right? So now she has 33 customers doing 30 tons every day in Bangalore, the biggest apartment complex like Shah Indication, paying her like 2 rupee a day per apartment to manage their waste. So she does continue the NGO part as well, which works on domestic, the individual houses. It works with government on activism, right? And sitting in a round table, suing BMP to make law changes. So segregation is a law right now in Bangalore. So those kind of things the NGO does. But the for-profit version goes to areas where that model is possible, right? She's profitable. She's doing 30 tons a day. Bangalore has 1,400 tons in bulk generated. So like that, you go deeper in whatever you're doing. Is there a sustainable model? Is there a model? So now this private limited company of SAHAY attracted the angel investment, right? So this Indian angel network that I'm part of, we have given her 3 crores to go build it up with the goal, I want 100 crores next year. I mean, 100 tons of waste should be managed next year. We sent her to US to meet with this WM. WM is a big company in US. It's a $14 billion company managing waste, right? So that is what we want out of her. I said waste need not be an NGO subject, right? You can go deeper and understand bring the behavior change so that you can do that part. So that's a great example of how you could be hybrid and how the sustainability comes, how if you're able to show a scalable model, right? Because I'll quickly move to this for-profit thing, what it will take to attract funding from equity investors. So before that, a quick uh, kind of class about what is equity investing, right? So in what kind of investments all you're familiar with? So the moment if you're a company, you want money, what comes to your mind? Huh? What comes to your mind? You need money, you are a company, you're running a company. Bank, right? So that's the only one. What else? That's the problem, right? So we only come to our mind as a bank. So bank, it does debt. They give a loan most of the time with the collateral. If you have your grandma's house, 1 crore worth, they may give you 20 lakhs. So what do you do with that? So we have a problem. So that is where this thing called equity investing started coming into play in the early probably 60s 50s in the US, when the IT sector started getting popularized, right? Because if it is asset based companies, this is touch and feel, I can put a value to it. But when these guys started writing code, they say 1 million line of code, how would you value this? Can you put it in a container? I have no idea, right? So that way this valuation thing started up, valuing something knowledge based. Then you put a value to it and then say, give me a portion of it, I will give you money, right? So that's where the equity model came. So today, that's what we're following. Unfortunately, this is what available in the world today, is that if somebody wants say 10 lakhs, right, and then they value your company as 1 crore, so that means you have given 10% of your company to that person, right? So he's an angel investor. But how he makes money? So for him to make money, you have to grow. That's why the word scalability comes. They will invest in companies which can scale. So why? Scale is very important. That's how he makes money. So he gives you 10 lakhs. He wants you to grow very, very fast. And then your needing for money is increasing, right? So now you're grown in the last 1 year, you need another crore to grow further. So you're growing very fast and you found out an area which is very unique. You're able to differentiate. Sometimes you may even have an intellectual property. So with that, you are growing. Now your appetite increase, you want a crore. So at that time there may be another investor, right? Could be a venture capitalist, or venture capital, they usually come on 6 crore. Could be another angel investor could come and say, I will give you 1 crore. I'm going to value your company at 5 crore, right? So what happened to my money? So I gave 10 lakhs earlier at 1 crore valuation. Now this person is giving a valuation of 5 crores. So what happened to my money? 5 times in paper, right? So I have not exited in paper. So sometime that investor could offer to buy my share as well. So then I made 5 times my money. So usually at that round, usually people do not offer to buy the whole, existing investor. So I may not get my money. So the person who's coming in, he wants to give you 1 crore, but he wants to grow fast, right? In the next 12 months to 24 months, your appetite increases, right? You're going to raise 10 crores. So at that time, a venture capitalist comes and value your company as say 50 crores. So what happened to my money? 50 times in paper. So at that time, he could offer to buy my share. So I made 50 times my money where I've invested. So that is why the scalability is very, very, very important if you're attracting the equity investor. It looked like a Ponzi scheme, right? So I'm just pushing this buck on something, and finally it go to what do we call public markets, IPO. So when the IPO happens, you list in your New York Stock Exchange or a Bombay Stock Exchange. A common man buy your stock, so he's the guy who's owning this buck. So I made my money. So unfortunately, this is the only method available in the world for equity investing. So SEBI has formed a kind of committee to look into this thing, and Indian Angel Network part of it as well. Because what is the problem in this? Any problem? What the problem you're seeing this? So when you to attract the equity investment, this is what I've told. This is what it works. So what is the problem in this? Huh? So on the paper, okay, good. Huh? Valuation, you got to keep increase the valuation. What else? Uh, the revenue as well. Yeah. Okay, good. What are the challenges? Exactly. Right? That's what happening in the frenzy right now in the country on e-commerce. There's a speculation. Yes. What else? What are the challenges you see? Huh? Investor could lose the money. Yeah, it's a high risk, high reward game. Yes, very nice. Yeah. That can be controlled to an extent, but yes, but if you're growing very fast in doing showing the more number, they're not going to bother, right? If you're not fetching the revenue, if your execution is pretty bad, then only they may try to come and tell you, hey, you're doing wrong, and sometimes they may even replace the CEO of the person, right? But the challenge is about that they want to increase the point what you mentioned about there is a fear of losing money, right? So when there is a fear of losing money, what do they do? What do you do when you that is one part. What else? No. So when if I fear that I'm going to invest in this X and Y company, I may have a chance of losing my money. What do I do? No, I would look for success stories, a trending sector, right? Somebody had invested, made money in some sector. So I will try to copy that sector. So because somebody already made money on that. So what do you call trending sector? So this will attract the equity investment goes towards usually trending sectors. That's why the e-commerce attracts today a lot of money because it took 15 years for them to figure out the model and they kind of figured out there is speculation. So everybody is putting money there. So that means what do we call risk capital? So people are trying something relatively new. There is no company in the world probably doing something like that, attracting investment for those becoming tougher, right? So that is why this equity model, which is a little bit flawed, so we are looking at see what other alternative models could be. But that said, the good news for impact sector is that there are quite a lot of impact investors. Say Acumen is one of the impact investors. They focus only 5 sectors, right? So low cost housing, energy, healthcare, agriculture, etc. Right? So then, if you are working in this area and skill development, if you are working in this area, you could attract impact investors. There, what we have a concept called patient capital. Means that we have more patience, so we're not going to push really hard that you need to grow very fast. You can go a little bit slower because the area you are working is tough, right? Remote parts of the country, you're trying to do something, it may not work all the time. So the investors are willing to wait a little bit longer. But still, it's the equity investment. So they need to exit some time to show profit, right? So that's still the problem is there. But interestingly, more and more impact investors are there. And so like Acumen we have, and there is this Aspada. So they focus a lot on agriculture side. There is Omnivore, they only agriculture they do. There is Infuse, they do only in energy, right? There are education focused. The Dell has this fund that focus bit of education and urban issues. Like that, there are funds, the impact funds are there that focus in a sector. So if you are in that sector, if you're able to create a business model innovation that can show them the scalability, you would be able to attract this, what we call the patient capital, right? So this is where I think Indian Angel Network as well, we are funding this company that makes impact, like SAHAY is one, right? It's a clear model that it could scale. Why? Bangalore alone, 5,000 tons of waste is available, right? If she's doing 30 tons and doing fantastic, look at the potential, right? She doesn't even go to any place. I'm just coming from one of my investments called Fresh World, right? So he's trying to solve a problem of agriculture, right? Today there are 2,000 farmers leaving agriculture, and you have suicides happening. So one of the reason is that what the consumer pays, the farmer gets only the 30% of it. So there's an inefficient supply chain. Bangalore has around 3,000 tons of vegetable being consumed, right? Most of that sold by your pushcart vendors, right? There are 15,000 of them in Bangalore. They walk 12 kilometers a day, wake up at 4 o'clock, go to this care market, work with the mafia, get this veg, then make around 300, 400 bucks a day. By afternoon, whatever is not sold, give it to a hotel and go back to sleep. So this is one problem, right? And there is no dignity of labor because we are very good about how to bargain with these guys, right? So for $5, and he also puts all kind of thing in your weighing machine, and so there is a hassle for a housewife to buy veg from here. So this is exactly what entrepreneur tried to solve. So what he did, so he went to NID, National Institute of Design, and said, I want an electric three-wheeler to be designed. So designed the vehicle, and he went to Madurai, found somebody who can build the vehicle for him, electric vehicle. and then he puts technology into it, right? All this thing, GPS, Bluetooth, electronic weighing machine, all that, give the driver a t-shirt, so it's all dignified. Then he cuts the KR market because that's where the mafia is. So he goes to Safal, which is run by Amul's mother dairy, right? It's pretty fantastic system. So he buys produce from there, directly go to the consumer. So today he's doing around 32 vehicles running, doing 8 tons of vegetables every day. But what is next? So when the moment he gets 50 tons, so there is a lot of data is collected, right? Then now we can go to tell the farmers in Hoskote that what are you growing? Because now they're playing a gamble on supply demand. So everybody grows tomato and the tomato price drops, then they stop. Then tomato price goes up. So they're playing this supply and demand curve and in a gamble model. But once you have a data, we can tell them about what is the consumption pattern in Bangalore, what they could grow so that they could diversify, right? At the same time, the concept is proven now with 32 vehicles. We are working with an NGO to bring this 15,000 of them into this electric vehicle model. Make them micro entrepreneurs, right? Take them to a bank, get them this vehicle, and they just come there, run an electric vehicle, but you are a micro entrepreneur and you do the profit sharing. So look at the impact, right? So one way could be that I'm going to start an NGO for the rehabilitation of pushcart vendors in Bangalore, right? So that could be one way. But or you could say that, oh, this I'm going to start an NGO to support the agri farmers. But look at that, both of these problems are solved entrepreneurially, right? And Bangalore consumes 3,000 tons. He doesn't have to go to anywhere else, right? The biggest e-commerce company in Bangalore sells around 20 tons. This guy is already doing 8 tons. No app, nothing, right? And the next organized retail is Reliance doing around 200 plus tons. There are 2,500 plus tons is unorganized. Most of them are sold by our pushcart vendors. So that is where the problem. So how you are looking at the problem completely different. So same impact, whatever you want to do, it's rehabilitating this pushcart vendors, giving the farmers better information as well as procure farm gate so that he doesn't have to, because once he reaches the 50 tons, we will start engaging with the farmer directly, pick it up from the farm gate, right? And we can also predict, right, if the tomato supply is today more in Bangalore, we'll tell them don't cut the tomatoes, just leave it for 2 days. So let the price settle down, right? So that information can go back to him. So today he has no clue. He cut that, puts in your vehicle, and if you want to go see it at 1 a.m. in KR market, what haggling going on with the farmers and the mafia, right? What are the price? These guys tell you have to supply, or he'll say take it back. Where you'll take the veg back to Hoskote 4 hours drive, right? So this is where he's solving the problem. So how you're looking at the problem and applying it, that is where the thing comes. So electric vehicles, no pollution. So what happened? Since he's buying from the farmers, agri department, so fond of him, he told BMP that this is a very fantastic initiative. So BMP gave the first street vending license to this guy, right? So now people selling in platform, nobody gets a license. That's why they get haggled by the traffic police. So today, these vehicles have a street vending license by BMP, right? So when the BMP commissioner saw this, he's really excited. He said, call the transport minister and said, hey, look at this. There is some electric vehicle in Bangalore going to run around. He said, wow, I want to launch this in front of the pushcart vendors. So he brought all of them, he launched in front of them, right? So we took a photo of it, right? If a traffic constable stops, we'll say the photo. Hey, it's by the transport minister, it has a license, don't haggle with me. So this is what you can approach this. So if you can, or other side, or you start an NGO and get into activism about fighting with BMP, right? So how can you go look at entrepreneurially solving this problem at the same time achieving what you want, right? So it attracted. We gave 3 crores. This guy is doing fantastic right now, right? Next month, in 2 months, he will hit the volume-wise major e-commerce company in Bangalore on selling vegetables. So these are a few examples. I'll just stop at it. And if you have any questions, did we answer all the questions? Good. The other point, the triple bottom line, right? So this is where the great example, the fresh world is a great example of triple bottom line. So we're not only looking at the profit alone, we are looking at how environmentally is good with electric vehicles, right? And also about the people impact. That's what people, profit, and planet. So many of the impact investing companies start measuring these investment in these 3 elements. But it's not only just for this companies alone. It is for everything. So I have an investment company called SolarOn, right? It's just a tiny house in Koramangala. This guy rated number 7 worldwide Yeah, first is Morgan Stanley is 7, 8 is Reuters, Bloomberg is 9. What he does, he monitors 9,000 stocks listed in New York Stock Exchange and LSE for environment, social, and governance of these big billion-dollar company listed out there, right? A report that he put out could bring down this company, right? Whether it's a sweatshop, this company is procuring from, or BP, before he did the big spill in the US, he was able to alert these customers that there are small spills they're doing across Europe. So that alerted the analysts. So today, the people, mutual funds also want to know more information about the company beyond what is there in the ticker symbol, right? What they put out as a quarterly update. So they want someone else to give more insights about this company. This guy is doing really fantastic. So whether you are a social enterprise or not, you are being watched on being responsible from environment and social and governance element. So that is why I think it's becoming ingrained. Many of these bigger companies started talking about triple bottom line in their quarterly reports as well. Yeah. So that should be the way of it. India has a great potential because while we build the country, we could put these elements as a DNA of every startup that we are building. That is what we are working with Amitabh Kant now. How can we incentivize these companies in these areas as well, not just focus on IT alone? Yeah, good. So let's stop it here. If any question, did we miss out any of your expectation? Good. Yes. So any other question? I think probably can take one or two questions. Yes.
My name is Mahesh. I'm coming from Dream a Dream. So I'm saying in this whole race of scale and things like that, are we becoming a new layer of exploiters of people?
Yes. That's why the triple bottom line is very important, right? So if you are measuring all these three elements, and if you are watching your every step towards that, are you not exploiting the environment as well as the people, and then profit also element? If it become the DNA of your venture, why not, right? That's what I'm telling. If you're not doing it, when you go big, I have Solaron watching you as well, right? A report Solaron could bring down $1 billion company's stock price in New York Stock Exchange. So the mindset is come.
We may want to reach the poorest of the poor.
Yeah.
When we started small.
Sure.
And we do a very good job with that.
Yeah.
But subsequently, when you start scaling up, we lose the poorest of the poor and we start going to the low-hanging fruits. And then the poor who are there continue to be there. That's what the social change that we want to create gets diluted. It could get diluted.
That's true. That is where, so when the fundraising part, you need to be very clear about who you are taking as an investor, right? That is one element. The other element about why do you need to scale. So if you're able to build a sustainable business, right? Not all this business about need a investment. There is this company in Madurai, Ramaraj Cotton, right? This guy walked into a bank and wearing dhoti, the security did not allow. He said, wow, in Tamil Nadu, wearing a dhoti, going to a bank, it's a big thing. So he said, I want to change this perception. He started this company. And what he did, he put an advertisement where a guy wearing dhoti goes, a guy wearing jacket salutes him, right? He put that advertisement, everything. Today is 1,000 crore business, zero investments, right? So just investment thing is a big myth, right? If you want to ride the tiger, then you got to do that, right? So it's up to what you want, whether you want an MTR, where in Lalbagh, 40 years, one shop, fantastic food, or you want to be a cafe day, 1,000 stores across the country, you're growing. So it's the call that you need to make, right? And if which tiger you are riding, you got to go with that. So you cannot take the money from the investor, the equity investor, and blame him that you're asking me to scale, right? He's not running a charity because he's in that business to make money. He has a word in front of him called impact, but the word is investor. He's not calling himself a charity, right? If he's a charity, then it's okay. So that's why keep this objective very clear. So most of the time, this communication gap comes. People used to fight. Oh, I got this investor. He's a pain in my neck. But why did he got him? Right? He could become a Ramraj Cotton, grow. It took 15 years for him to achieve 1,000 crores. He doesn't have to answer any of these investors. It's possible. There are like hundreds of examples like this. People grow organically, and your vision is intact. Yes.
So we'll have one last question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's in fact a good lead for my question. So, despite knowing that the private equity investors will have to wait for maybe 5 years, unlike 2 to 3 years to exit, and they also know that it's not 10x or 20x that they're going to probably it's 5x. What still motivates them to invest in a social
Yeah,
impact?
because the investor in those funds have the same mentality as well, right? So, if for example, Acumen is an NGO, but it's a fund. So what Acumen does, it goes to the donors, philanthropic institution, tell them if you give $1 to a cause, you'll get a effect worth of $1. But why don't we put it as a fund? So I will invest in a social enterprise. So today, after 13 years, every dollar Acumen raise, it becomes $4. It's still working, right? So there is no pressure from the donors because donor perspective they've given up. So like that, most of the impact funds have their what do we call LP. That means the people who fund them also have the similar mentality. So that is why they're able to define the rules that I am a patient capital, right? If you're going to take the money from mainstream, they won't be able to have the luxury. Yeah, I think with that we'll stop. Thanks a lot.